friends. This morning, afternoon, I don't know what time it is, we are enjoying some jasmine green tea. And what news might I have for you? Oh, I got a couple tattoos. One is a heart logo. I call it Lead with Your Heart. It's something that I designed a few years ago, and it's one of my favorite drawings. And so I had that tattooed, and also the word Meneo, which is Latin for like stay, abide. And as somebody who deals with mental health issues and chronic illness, it is that encouragement to abide, to, fight to keep living. Moving on. Our story today in Grimm's Fairy Tales is called The 12 Lazy Servants. 12 servants who had done nothing all day long did not want to exert themselves, even by evening. Rather, they lay down in the grass and boasted about their laziness. The first one said, "Your laziness doesn't concern me. I'm too busy with my own. My chief occupation involves looking after my body. I eat a good deal and drink even more. After I've had 4 meals, I fast for a short time until I feel hungry again. This suits me best. I don't like getting up early. When it gets towards noon, I already begin looking for a place to rest. If my master calls, I pretend not to hear him, and if he calls a second time, I wait a while before getting up, and even then I walk very slowly. This way life is bearable." The second said, "I have to look after a horse, but I leave the bit in his mouth even if I don't feel like it. Then I don't feed him and say that he's already eaten. Instead, I lie down in the oat bin and sleep for 4 hours. Afterward, I stretch out one foot and move it a few times over the horse's body so that he's combed and groomed. Why go to more trouble for something like that? Still, my job's too bothersome for me." The third said, "Why be bothered with work? Nothing comes of it. Once I lay down in the sun and slept. It began to drizzle, but I didn't get up. I just let it rain and couldn't have cared less. Finally, there was a thunderstorm, and the rain came down so hard that it tore the hair off my head and washed it away, and I got a hole in my skull. I put a bandage over it, and then everything was all right. Since then, I've had many injuries like that." The fourth said, "I have to take on some work. I first loaf about for an hour to conserve my strength. Then I begin very slowly and ask whether other people might be around to help me. Of course, I let them do most of the work while I just look on. But even that's too much for me." The fifth said, "That's nothing special. Listen to this. I'm supposed to cart the manure from the stable and load it into the wagon. I set off slowly, and when I get a little something on the pitchfork, I only lift it halfway up, and the rest 15 minutes, and then rest 15 minutes before I finish my task. It's more than enough if I do a cartload a day. I have no desire to work myself to death." The sixth said, "You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm not afraid of any kind of work, but I lie down for 3 weeks at a time and don't even take off my clothes. Why have buckles on my shoes? Let the shoes fall off my feet. It makes no difference to me. Whenever I want to climb a flight of stairs, I drag one foot slowly after the other onto the first step, and then I count the remaining steps so that I'll know where to rest." The seventh said, "That won't work in my case. My master oversees my work. Only he's away all day. Still, I don't neglect a thing. I creep instead of hurrying. It would take 4 hefty men to make me move faster, and they would have to push with all their might. Once I came to a place where 6 men were asleep, lying side by side. I lay down beside them and slept too. It was impossible to wake me up, and when they wanted to get me home, they had to carry me." The eighth said, "It's clear to me that I'm the brightest here. If I find a stone lying in front of me, I don't take the trouble to lift my feet and step over it. I lay down on the ground, and if I get wet, muddy, and dirty, I continue to lie there until the sun dries me out. At most, I turn myself over so that it can shine on me. The ninth said, "Here's something for you. Today, my bread was in front of me, but I was too lazy to pick it up and nearly died of hunger. There was also a pitcher standing there, and it was so large and heavy that I refused to lift it and preferred to go thirsty. The thought of turning around was too much for me, and I spent the entire day lying flat on my back like a log." The 10th said, "Laziness has brought me nothing but injuries, such as a broken leg and swollen calves. 3 of us were lying by the roadside, and I stretched out my legs. Then someone came along with the wagon, and the wheels went over me. Of course, I could have pulled in my legs, but I didn't hear the wagon coming. The gnats were buzzing in my ears and crawling in my nose and out of my mouth. Who'd want to take the trouble to chase the vermin away?" The 11th said, "Yesterday I quit my job. I no longer wish to fetch heavy books for my master and take them away again. That was all I did the entire day. But to tell the truth, he didn't want to keep me any longer. He gave me my walking papers because I left his clothes lying in the dust, and they were all eaten by moths. It was all right with me." The 12th said, "Today I had to drive the wagon across the country. I made myself a bed of straw on top of it and fell into a deep sleep. The rein slipped out of my hand, and when I awoke the horse had nearly broken loose. The harness was gone, and so were the crupper, collar, bridle, and bit. Someone had come along and made off with everything. Besides this, the wagon had got stuck in a ditch. I let it lay there, and stretched myself out on the straw again. Finally, my master himself came and pushed the wagon out, and if he hadn't come, I would be lying not here but out there, sleeping nice and peacefully." The end? That was it? That was a lazy story. I was running out of voices too, so I'm glad there was only 12 of them. Let me know what you think. Would you spend a day with your friends bragging about how lazy you are and what an awful employee you are? Maybe it's my internalized capitalism that's slightly repulsed by that. I guess I need to reflect myself on the value of work. Alright, friends, well, if you can be bothered, it is time for your next adventure. I'll miss you. Cheers.